Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Market Strategy for Parabolis. We are the preeminent partnership for government contractors, providing holistic support that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, my guests are Chelsea Meggitt, who is no stranger to our show. She's the CEO of Collaborative Compositions and host of the podcast GovCon Unscripted. Also joining us is David Neal, managing partner of D. Neal Consulting. These two teamed up and wrote an amazing book called Hey GovCon, Get Help, and that's the topic of discussion for us for today. So welcome to both of you to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a privilege.
Absolutely. So, Chelsea, I always like to start the show by having our guests give a more formal introduction of themselves. So, I'd love for you to start us off. You've been on a few times, but I still want you to share your background and the work that you do in the industry. And then, for those who are familiar with you already, why don't you tell those people something that they may not know about you?
Oh, okay. Well, it's great.
Love it.
Good to see you as always. I'm Chelsea Meggitt, again, CEO of Collaborative Compositions. We help small, mid-sized businesses and academic institutions to help expand their federal government contracting portfolio. We do that by fractional business development services, and that's for those folks that are between the Apex accelerators and the full-time biz dev budget. So we ultimately fit that niche pretty well and pretty effectively. Gosh, something that folks don't know about me. Let's see here. I'm a pretty open book, but folks might not know the topic that we're talking about today. I published a book recently with my partner here, David Neal. So I'm excited to talk about that, and I'm looking forward to getting that out there and folks getting the opportunity to experience it.
And we're excited to hear about it too. But before we get into it, David, I would love for you, welcome to the show for the first time.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background in the industry, what you do with your consulting firm. Tell us all about it.
So, I'm managing partner of David Neal Consulting, been selling to the federal government for about 20 years. And I focus primarily on helping the economically disadvantaged small businesses, women owned, minority owned, 8A, hub zone, tribal, so forth, sell their product or service to the federal government. I think something people might not know about me or Chelsea is we've never met in person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have formed our relationship, our friendship over Zoom, over LinkedIn, and her passion is my passion, helping small businesses. So something else, maybe I'm a certified scuba diver. I'll go with that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
Now, do you get to do that very often?
I can say that my last dive was in October in Mykonos in Greece, and I'll be diving in the Caribbean in December. So try to go about once, maybe twice a year.
Very cool. Well, we'll
Yeah.
have to talk on offline about that because
Oh yeah, I
I
love it.
absolutely want to hear about some cool spots you've been to.
Yeah.
But we're not here to do that today. We're here to talk about your brand new book. And I'm super excited. Chelsea is a personal friend, and I hope, David, you will be after this as well.
I hope so too. I hope so. I
Great.
see you at conferences. Let's
Yeah.
see. Is it the purple dress or you always have the red hair? I love it.
Well,
And
thank you.
so I've seen you out and about. What a privilege to be here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. My mom always said, "You look good, feel good, do good." So I try to, make sure that the number one is taken care of. And it's not super hard to stand out in GovCon because there's a lot of blue and black and white. And so I just stay away from those three colors. I stand out in the herd. So,
Love
but
it.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I pride myself in my attire selections. So
Very good.
thank you. But I want to get rolling and talking about this brand new book, Hey GovCon, Get Help. But I want to start by finding out, Chelsea, I know you, so I know that you are a very prolific writer. You put out content quite frequently. You're considered a thought leader in our industry. And so I imagine I might know where your inspiration was, but I want to know collectively, how'd you guys decide to team up? And what was the inspiration of the book?
So for me, I had a couple of situations that I kept running into, and it was folks that were kind of being led astray and folks that had run into some scammers and some sort of money grabbing opportunities that they ultimately could have avoided had they had some resource to guide them in a different direction and to let them know that those things exist and that they are out there and not everybody out there is really telling the truth and selling you honesty. So I really came across, a couple of those situations in a really short amount of time and decided that there needed to be a resource out there. And I couldn't think of anyone better to write the book with than David Neal. Absolutely fantastic. David, what are your thoughts?
Same thing. We've known each other for a few years. And as we would talk, we were hearing these horror stories from some clients, people really being taken advantage of. I won't go into the depths of the accounts, but people losing thousands and thousands of dollars. But the concept, if someone is telling you that selling to the government is a get rich quick scheme, it just isn't. And so I have practiced, hard work, effort, and Chelsea and I, we share those same values. So as we would talk about these things, so you have our love to help small business, but then the big inspiration is, there's small businesses need help. And what wouldn't it be nice if we could document the correct help, the right help, the direction that you need to go? And we started talking about this. Now, little did we know over a year ago when we started thinking about that, where the federal government would be today. Time for small business to get help, it's now.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of changes over the last several months. And so I think it's very well timed. I mean, you guys could not have timed the publication any better,
Yeah.
especially as it pertains to sharing very pertinent information. And, there's a saying that it doesn't come with a manual, but now it does, thanks to you guys. We've been saying forever that there just wasn't enough information housed in one spot that was able to be digested and understood really well. And I too pride myself on being a small business advocate, and we find a lot when we're assisting the businesses that we currently have as clients or those that are just in the ecosystem itself, is there are a lot of functional operators who just don't have enough information about how to run a business successfully in the federal marketplace. And there's a lot that goes into it. And so Chelsea's always been someone that I've been able to refer people to. David, you will be as well now, as you need to have Sherpas if you taking you
Yes.
through, because there's a lot that you won't know. And instead of just trying to fumble through it and then prolonging your ability to succeed, better find someone who can meet you where you are now and guide you through it. And so this book, I think, is going to be a great start. And you guys were gracious enough to allow us on this show. And I know it's not exclusive just to me, but I'm going to pretend for today that it is, because I've seen you all over the place now. So I know other people are getting you on their shows too. But you guys are going to divulge some little bit. Don't give away too much IP, but let's talk about some of the things within the book that are really going to grab the attention. We will be scrolling the link to Amazon for people to grab it as well. And I highly recommend it. But let's get into what some of the meat and potatoes are in there, okay? So, myths and misconceptions within the industry itself. We just said one of them, right? That it's easy, get rich quick. If it was, we'd all be doing it. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about helping other people do it. It isn't
Exactly.
easy.
Not
I hope I didn't blow a hole in what you guys were going to talk about,
No.
but
No.
myths and misconceptions. Let's go there.
So, David, I'll let you take this one first.
I mentioned the getting rich quick scheme. I think the other thing that we talk about and address is if somebody is telling you or forcing you to get a GSA schedule. Okay, GSA schedules are great, right? They're important. But if they don't know what you sell or who's buying it or who the competition is, that's just one area. Of course, we're not going to get too specific now, but that's one of the big areas that we talk about because there is a proliferation of people calling you on the phone or sending you an email saying, in order to sell to the federal government, you have to have a GSA schedule. That's just not correct. It's just not accurate. It may be good, it may be helpful in some instances, but if somebody's trying to force that on you, take a step back. Take a step back. Have them tell you why. Where's the money? Where can we follow this? We talk about that in depth, really, in the book. So those two are the hot buttons. Want me to continue on, Chelsea? Or are you ready to jump in?
I'll take it. I'll jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I think another one that you get is immediately once you register in SAM.gov, you get these calls and you get rings and you get pings and emails saying, okay, well, it's going to expire. Just pay us $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to renew your SAM.gov profile. And going through that process, it can be challenging, sure, but there's plenty of free resources out there, like, for instance, the Apex accelerators that will help you do that. They will help you go through that for free. It is a free process and it has no monetary expense associated with it. So
Right.
and they can come across really official looking and really compelling. And I still get emails from clients all the time saying, should we be worried about this? Are we going to expire? Should we be paying for this? And it's just a flood of scammy information that you get once you register in that free database, because again, it's a public database.
Yep.
So it gives your information and it gives people access to that information that, may not have had it before. And they often prey on those new companies that are unfamiliar and not necessarily as comfortable with how to go through and do the SAM.gov registration process. And that's just a shame. I mean, that's a basic step to get things going and to get rolling in the industry, that to expend that much money in the beginning and with no warrant or cause, it just seems so unnecessary.
Yeah. And you always get these imitators that are coming out and trying to scare people. It's like on the same line as the people who prey off of the elderly and sending them, text messages, click on this link and send money to this link, whatever it is. It's disheartening because it happens all the time. I've been in rooms at conferences where people have had the same scenario, but for an SBA certification. I do a lot of work with women impacting public policy. And I remember sitting next to a woman who said that she had spent relatively what you had just said, a couple $1,000s to have someone get a woman-owned small business certification. And that process is totally free and it isn't difficult. But when someone makes you think that there's more to it and is believable, and unfortunately, I remember hearing a lot of those numbers that were calling people were coming from area codes out of Florida. So all of my DMV friends are like, "Oh, way to go, Florida!" Once again, I was like, "It's not
Florida,
all
here we go. Florida, here we go again."
Those are bad people that are just picking numbers. They're not necessarily Florida citizens. Come on, give us a break. We're not all like that, right?
I would add, as part of the inspiration for this book was, if you've been trying to sell to the federal government for a few years. I worked for 3 8A companies previous to starting my own business, and I would run into other 8A companies that were in years 4, 5, and 6 and hadn't done anything. And one of the misconception is, hey, you get your women-owned certification, or you get your 8A certification, or you get a GSA schedule, and contracts just fly into you.
Right. They're
Um,
gonna do you.
these are, licensed to hunt is what these are. These cut down the competition. These will put you in line to win or to compete. And so, again, if someone isn't being honest about that strategy, even to help you, you will waste your time and your money. Or a lot of times I've met people over the last 20 years, they just throw up their hands and say, our 8A did nothing for us. I personally love the 8A program. I've helped 3 companies graduate successfully out of the 8A program, and they're all in business today doing very well. It was a successful program. But again, just because you get your 8A certification, that doesn't mean anything. You can't just walk in the door waving it saying, hey, give me a contract because I have a 8A certification. People out there are preaching that. They're the snake oil salesman, the grifters, right? It's great. It is good. It will separate you from competition, but it's not going to guarantee you a contract.
Nor is it a contract vehicle.
Right. That's the unfortunate part of it as well. If you don't have a plan to manage it before you get it, the clock's ticking, it's too late. The sands of the hourglass are going as soon as you receive it. And those years will go by fast if you don't utilize it right. But, good news is you don't have to have any certification, right? There are small business set-asides just solely for the fact of what your NAICS codes are and what size you are. But that's a conversation that they need to call you and have you walk them through rather than we give them too much information for free, right? Because we are here to talk about a book and services.
And that all of those details are in the book. We
I
really
love
help.
it.
We call it a roadmap for success, really to get that book and to start plotting and planning where you're going to go, who you're going to work with. There's free resources out there. There are paid resources. Some are good, some are bad. So we address all of that in the book.
Yeah, I love it. And so let's talk about that in terms of resources and why it's so important to have trusted resources. Chelsea and I work together a lot. I've got a lot of, you know, resources within the industry that I rely on, not just for my own edification on subjects that I'm not proficient in, but I share my network with them. And so having a trusted relationship is super important. And sometimes the vetting process goes through someone else that you trust. And so let's have you guys chat a little bit about what you say in the book with reference to this.
There is a lot out there, and it's, in the age of content creators and in the age of being a, social promoter, there are a lot of big claims that will run out and be advertised on a lot of different platforms. And it's a lot of folks think that, okay, I've done one thing or I've been successful one time. That makes me an expert. That makes me, familiar with the entire picture. And now I can sell everything to anybody, especially in the federal government. And it's kind of, you have to rely back on that. Okay, all of the content creators that you see on Instagram, on Facebook, they're all very carefully curated. Most of them are not making as much money as their advertising they're making. It's a very thin veil between what is the truth and, what they're advertising. We're seeing more and more of that in the federal government contracting space. Folks relying on a 5-second reel or a 10-second reel to give them all of the information they think they need to know about federal government contracting. And in reality, it's it's a much more complex topic to talk about than just scrolling through Instagram or watching a couple YouTube videos. A number of times now that I've heard somebody say, "Oh, well, I saw it or I learned it on YouTube." And so there don't get me wrong here. There are trusted resources that have YouTube channels, but most of the time you're not going to be able to get the depth or the ultimately extent of the information that you need from those content creators, from those pedal pushers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and from those forms of information, because they're just not meant to provide that depth of information, and
Mhm.
they're really not meant for that. So having those resources that you can go and talk to for an extended, like, you can have a conversation with them. You can have a half an hour, you can have an hour conversation with them. They're going to provide you with some evidence, some justification, some data behind what they're saying. And it's not just going to be a front or a push for a sales pitch at the end. It's incredibly valuable to have those folks that you can rely on for that information, as opposed to just going to some of the big names on, some of the social platforms. It tends to be a very sort of soft difference there for folks. And I
Mhm.
really encourage folks to find the resources that, I mean, especially things like that are free, paid for by your tax dollars. Rely on those, not the ones that you're saying at the end of their Instagram posts say, "Buy my kit now," you know?
Yep.
Those folks really have some sort of ulterior motives associated with them.
Mhm.
I would add to it, I think we highlight some of the free websites, USA Spending, of course, sam.gov. Who knows how everything's going to shake out with the FAR rewrite and everything. Could be a little crazy, but we talk about these free websites. If you want to find out about NACE codes, right, you can go to a NACE code website. These are out there where you can do your own homework. You can do your own research. That's kind of a start. Go to your Apex people, go to the SBA. You might not need a loan, but just get some direction, figure out where you're going to go. You might need some capital. You might need an organization like yourself, right? Just talk to these people, get a
Mhm.
good feeling, and then when you're going to reach out and talk to a trusted advisor, interview a few different people, talk to people who have had success. Talk about all of these things in the book. Again, if somebody is forcing you to go down a certain direction, why is that they want you to buy a kit to do this? If you can't just sit down and get a free evaluation for 30 minutes, be wary of those things. They're good people out there, definitely. I'm looking at two great individuals right now, right? There are good, trusted people within the GovCon community. Are there
Mhm.
grifters and charlatans and snake oil people? They sure are.
Unfortunately, too many these days, right?
They're out there. So,
Yeah.
the book is saying, hey, get help. It's okay to get help, but just be a little bit weary, right? Take advantage of the free resources. The Apex people are wonderful, right? Sit down, but they're only going to
Mhm.
be able to go so far.
Right.
They can only go so far. So, depending on your level of comfort and so forth, then you're going to go from there. But give you some direction. right, in the book. We give you some questions to ask, some things to look forward to, again, as you plot out and plan that strategy.
You
And
got to trust your gut, right?
yeah. And not having those trusted resources. I mean, those folks, the charlatans, the grifters, the carnival barkers, whatever you want to call them, they will lead you astray and they can
Mhm.
cost you time, they can cost you money, they will cost you mental anguish and effort.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think we dedicated a whole chapter,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We
Yeah.
Well,
dedicated
because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, my great
yeah.
friend Guy Timberlake, I think he moonlights as a cyber carnival barker bully. If he finds you on LinkedIn, spewing something that isn't true, he will come looking for you. And I absolutely love it. I just get my popcorn and I'm like, well, yeah, guy. He is the best when it
Well,
comes to that. So every time you've said grifter, I think he's even talks about it in a lot of his blogs about the GovCon grifters, man. So
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
unfortunately, Chelsea and I, we did on her part podcast, we interviewed a couple different people that have been taken advantage of and
Yeah.
that and what happened to them. And again, we're not just talking hundreds of dollars, we're talking thousands of dollars
Yeah.
spent, really pursuing, going after something. Now they're frustrated. Now they have a bad taste in their mouth. And there are a ton of people who have a bad taste in their mouth about selling to the federal government. And that's a shame
Yeah.
because there is such an opportunity, at least right now, for minorities, for women, for so forth.
Right.
We're still hoping that window and door doesn't close, right? And so, yeah, for small business, we want the best. And so I know, again, I have been an integrity keeper for 20 years in this environment. Working
Mhm.
with Chelsea, we're on the same page. Even though we've never met in person, we just know each other,
Yeah.
the work ethic, the integrity. So,
Mhm.
there are good people out, and yeah, you
Mhm.
might have to do a little combing and search it, and you'll be able to find those people.
Yeah, and you gotta do your research. So I think that's great advice. And I think probably some of those resources can be connected for this next question is common challenges that companies face in their GovCon life cycle. There's a lot of them, right? And it usually comes at you for multiple of reasons, but what are one or two that you guys can highlight that you speak about in your book?
Well, we kind of addressed that from the beginning, that this is the roadmap, right? This is
Yeah.
where you want to start. And I think one of the challenges is, okay, you've had success in the commercial world. That's great. You've made a dollar, right? In some ways, shape, or form, I kind of think that's a little bad for a small business because they might sell in the corporate world and think, this is great. This is easy. Let's go out here and keep this going.
Mhm.
I think is the biggest challenge because selling to the federal government is different.
Yep.
Even though we're right here running side by side, they speak a different language. They have
Mhm.
different buying cycles. You can't just walk in and take them out to a $200 lunch and a wink and think, hey, we're going to get this deal. You can't
Right.
take them out to the golf course, right? It's different. And so, yeah, just because you've had success, maybe even on the state level, right, doesn't mean that doesn't translate always that you're going to have the same success in selling to the federal government. I kind of
Mhm.
see that as one of the biggest challenges.
And I see a lot of companies trying to overcome the common misconceptions of, how to get data. And they don't really realize, that within the federal government, I mean, it's an especially fruitful world for data and for being able to find previous buying cycles, previous buying information, contract information, your competitors' information.
Yep.
All of that stuff's out there. And the government puts it out there on purpose for you to be able to leverage and use. But so many companies come into this just thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna go target the DoD.
Mhm.
They to buy what we sell, and they just don't think necessarily as granularly into the, okay, well, what part of the DoD? There's how many subcommands, there's how many agencies within those subcommands that you might need to target that you ultimately can find all of that information about
Mhm.
available, but they
Mhm.
ultimately oftentimes will just skip over that and sort of ignore the fact that all of that, it's there for the picking. It's there for the taking on sites like FPDS, USA Spending, SAM.gov,
Yep.
any number of these free websites too that you can go do your homework. And they just kind of, the oversight is the homework that you need to do and the availability of the resources that are there. So they go to these conversations thinking, oh, this is going to go great. And then they say, hi, this is what I do. You need what I do, right?
Yep.
Great. My capabilities. We'll get a call from you next week, right? And
Yeah.
it never turns out like that because 'cause they've skipped over that vital piece of information of doing your homework and getting that research in.
Right. Talking to the right people is important because there's a difference between your customer and the buyer.
Oh,
And I think that's a lot of times people don't even recognize that's an issue there, or just trying to say what they think someone wants to hear and missing the mark on that. I've seen conversations on an exhibit hall floor happen where you just, if I had a shell that I could have crawled into so I didn't have to witness it personally, I
yeah.
would have. But it's experiences like that you guys have taken and heard and developed this book. And I'm super proud to have had an opportunity to let you guys shed some light on some of the great insights that you share within it. And I, again, encourage everyone that's listening to go to Amazon and grab a copy of it for yourselves, because I anticipate that this is something that's going to be long term helpful, and then something that you can use to pay it forward too and pass on to someone that might need it after you've gained what you can from it as well. So, but I really, this was amazing, and I'm super grateful to have you both on the show. I wish you lots of success on this new book, and I'm definitely going to hold you to it. Chelsea, you know it because you've been back several times, but
I'd
David.
love to come back. I'd love to come back. This is hope
Awesome.
the first time, and Chelsea and I have a great relationship. Can I share other news, Chelsea, about me and
Yes.
you we have in common?
Yes.
So I will have my second grandchild born in July 19th or 20th, and Chelsea's gonna have a beautiful little baby.
I'm due right around the same time.
Hi.
Yay!
So look at that. I'm like, this
Yes.
is it's wonderful. We wish
So exciting. Circle of life, right?
Yes.
July's gonna be an exciting time, and then hopefully by September, October, we're gonna get out there and hopefully go to some conferences
Yep.
and
Bring the babies on the
have
road.
Oh,
a
you
baby.
bet.
It's gonna be great.
I
And
love it.
Teresa, I hope to see you at a conference.
Oh, you will.
Like
That's my thing. So I definitely want to connect with you
yes,
after this so that we can connect ahead. And I'm excited for both of you, for both personally and professionally. A lot of good stuff coming down the road for you. And so very exciting. And thank you for sharing with our audience. I think it's very important that people know who we are as people in tandem with knowing who we are professionally as well. So thank you both for sharing that.
well, thank
Yes.
you for this
Absolutely.
opportunity. Chelsea, the book is just wonderful. We've got some great reviews
Yeah.
already on Amazon, which are kind of unbelievable. I love that impact we're
Yeah.
already having. So thank you, Teresa, for this platform as well.
That's amazing, of course. And as always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our Parabolas YouTube channel. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in the year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.
Thanks,
Thank
Teresa. See
you.
you next
Take
time.
care. Bye.